Beloved Madridistas, welcome back to the channel. Listen, I didn't want to make this video. Let me just say that from the start. I don't like talking about refs. You know, we all love football. We hate discussing refs, but we have no choice. We have no choice because unfortunately, this shady crap is still going on. You know, the Negreira case blew wide open, and you would think that that would stop people in their tracks. Well, I'm afraid it's still going on. It was going on last season and the season before. It's still going on. Listen, I did a video a few weeks ago. For those of you that aren't familiar with the whole Negreira story, I did a video. I'll put the link in the description in case you guys want to watch that. And it goes over how the whole thing started. And importantly, it goes over the statistics because, you know, a lot of people say, well, how can you prove that the payments had an effect on the refs? Well, you can prove it because the statistics from before the payments were made to those after are insane. I mean, just completely insane. So yes, it is very important to look at those numbers. But listen, you know, what we're going to do in this video is I'm going to do a very quick overview addressing some of those issues that I did in that video. And then we're going to talk about what happened in match day 1. Okay, it's only been one match day, and already you can smell the crap from a distance. There were 3 incidents in the Barça match that are disgusting and obvious, and there were 3 incidents in the Real Madrid match that clearly go in the other direction. And it's like this every single week, and it's nauseating to have to live through this week after week. But look, I'm sorry to have to discuss this, but it is important, and sadly it's true. So we need to address it, okay? Sorry to do this to you, but let's go over the ref situation in Spain. All right, let's get started. All right, Madridistas, welcome back. Okay, so basically, you know, as I mentioned, I did this video a few weeks ago, and it kind of goes over the whole Negreira case, how it started, and we look at a lot of statistics, which are interesting. But you know, let's just go over some of those because it's important. Now, you know, Barça started making these payments to Negreira in about 2004. And, you know, if you look at statistics, say the 15 years prior to 2004, and you look at something like red cards, you know, you look at something like this, right? This is what comes out. You've got, you know, red cards for and against, and then you've got the net of the two. And you look at Barcelona and Real Madrid, and the net is, you know, very similar. It's about the same. And we're talking about a very long period, 15 years. Now, what happens after the payments start getting made to Mr. Negreira? Okay, you know what happens? This. Okay, watch this. Okay? The situation with red cards goes absolutely bananas. It gets completely skewed. So we go from what is a normal world to, you know, where things were kind of balanced to a world where, I mean, look at this, because if you look at penalties, it's very, very similar. Okay, it's very similar. So let's look at red cards for and against and penalties for and against. From 2004 to 2018, which is when this study was done, some journalists started getting on top of this. And look at the difference. Look at the variation. We're talking about Barça having a 68-point advantage. So some of these ligas in that period were won by 1 point, 2 points, 3 points. If you have 68 more calls in your favor, it's going to throw entire seasons in one direction or the other. So look, it's unfortunately, you know, this is true. And by the way, Barça didn't just have the best ref tally in Spain, and of course Real Madrid became the worst immediately, but the best in Europe. I mean, so if we look at Barça's, you take red cards for and against, and that gives you a net number. You take penalties for and against, and that gives you a net number. Now, that's pretty insignificant if you look at one match or a season, but it's very significant when you're looking at 15 years. Okay, this becomes very relevant. Now, Barça had not just the best refereeing decisions in Spain, but in all of Europe. So how do Barça's numbers stack up against, say, everybody in the Bundesliga? This is what it looks like. So the columns that you guys want to look at are the column that says saldo TR, which is tarjeta roja. So that's the net of red cards for and against. And then the other column you want to look at the end is called saldo penaltis. So it's penalties for and against. Barça stacks up like this against the Bundesliga. By far the best calls of any team in the Bundesliga. How does it compare to the Premier League? Like this. Again, Barça had better ref stats than in that entire 15-year period than any team in the Premier League. Same with Ligue 1. Compare it to the Ligue 1 in France. Nobody even comes close. The Serie A in Italy. Nobody comes close. So, look, yes, those payments had material impacts on refs' decisions, and it's absolutely obvious for anyone to see. You don't have to be Sherlock Holmes to put two and two together. But listen, so what happens then when the story breaks, right? Well, Laporta has a press conference. The story breaks because Mr. Negreira's companies all of a sudden are getting millions, and the fiscal authorities in Spain are like, where's all this money coming from? And he says, well, from Barcelona. So Barça admits to making the payments. Laporta has this ridiculous press conference with these boxes saying, well, we were actually just paying, millions for written reports about refs in Spain. Written reports about refs in Spain. We knew that those boxes were empty. So, of course, when they were asked to produce the documents, then they said, well, actually, they weren't written reports. They were verbal reports. Okay, so now they're verbal reports, but nobody can attest to ever receiving one of these, verbal reports. And then when they obviously can't spin that, they say, well, yeah, we made the payments because we were looking for fairness in refs. We felt that we wanted to ensure fairness. It's completely ridiculous. So, look, you would think that after getting caught that they would take the foot off the accelerator. Well, no, it's still going on, I'm afraid to say. Now, let's look at the incidents. It's only been one match day this season, and already I'm pulling my hair out. So let's look at what happened in the Barça match, okay? The first thing that we're going to mention is there was a potential penalty to Valencia that wasn't given, okay? Now, you can see it here. Now, maybe it wasn't a penalty. It's possible. But what I can tell you is that the exact same play, last season, Barça against Las Palmas, they gave a penalty to Gundogan. It is literally exactly the same play. So I'm not saying that it was a penalty for sure. I mean, maybe it wasn't. But I'm telling you that they're not called in one direction, but they are called in another because Gundogan got the penalty. Okay, the second thing that happened, the penalty that was awarded to Barça with Rafinha, I mean, have a look at this. I mean, it is absolutely ridiculous, okay? Rafinha gets to the ball first, but no one touches him. Okay, just because you get to the ball first doesn't, if no one, you go to ground without anybody touching you, that's not a penalty. It's not a penalty. And I can tell you that they did not even show that. They showed the replay once in Spain, and then they didn't show it again because MediaPro will not allow. MediaPro is owned by a guy that lent Barça $100 million of his own money. Like, they're never going to show it. So that was not a penalty under any circumstance. It was ridiculous. The third thing that happened in that match was that in a counterattack, Valencia had a very dangerous counterattack, and in the middle of the pitch, Cubarsí clearly drags the man down because it was a dangerous counterattack. Now, that is a yellow card always, okay? Not 99% of the time. It's a yellow card 100% of the time. But, of course, Cubarsí was already on a yellow. So what did the ref do? Nothing, okay? And this was the most obvious yellow card anyone has ever seen. So, look, this is just the beginning of the league, and we're already starting with this nonsense. And by the way, just incidentally, because now the VAR booth is now controlled by MediaPro. MediaPro is the company that has the rights to everything that you see or don't see in the matches in Spain. And that is, yes, the product of Rhodes and another guy in charge now who's actually on the board of Barça and Barça Studios. It's a joke. The conflict of interests are insane. Well, I'll just tell you that when Valencia scored their goal, the ref immediately called offsides. And of course it wasn't offsides, and they had to correct it later. But when Barça scored their goal, and this is what it looked like, that looks like something that should be reviewed. It wasn't reviewed. The goal was given immediately. So in one case, you immediately say offsides, and then in the other case, you don't even review it. So look, the double standard is insane. Okay, and then, what happened in the Madrid match, which, we all watched? Well, there was that one play on Kylian, and when I saw it live, I thought it was a penalty because as the defender was falling, he used his arm to grab Kylian's leg. Well, that wasn't even revised. I mean, look, maybe it was a penalty, maybe it wasn't a penalty, but don't you think you should check it? It wasn't even checked. They don't even check that. The second thing that happened, there was a clear pulling of the shirt on Militao. Very clear. Now, they didn't even show that repeated on TV. So Media Pro doesn't want you to see it. And the VAR booth sure as hell is not going to check it. But, the refs talked at the beginning of the season how they were going to clamp down on shirt pulling and so forth in the box. This is as obvious as it gets. Did they even review it? No, they didn't even review it. It wasn't even worth second considerations. And then, of course, what we've discussed in the comment section many times, Maffeo, stomps on Vini. You can break a guy's leg doing this, okay? That is a red card every day of the week and twice on Sundays, okay? But no red card. It's, whatever, yellow, no big deal. Listen, I am really, sorry to have to discuss refs, but it is a very sad state of affairs, but it is still going on. It is still going on. Shockingly, I love this country. I have so many wonderful things about it. But accountability and responsibility and the pursuit of things like this, nothing ever seems to happen. People just break the rules, break the law, like nothing happens. How can this still be happening? I don't know who's paying who these days, but it's still happening. And we see it every single week. Look, my fellow Madridistas, we're going to have to play a perfect season. We're going to have to play a perfect Liga if we want to win it. Because you can be sure that every week they're going to try desperately to help Barca. Okay? Every institution has been littered with people that are trying to get Barca to win. It's absolutely pathetic. But listen, we're going to keep playing the best we can. And if it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger. And I think having to play with this adversity makes us stronger. I think getting all these ref favors over so many years in Spain, I think it weakened Barca, which is why they got their asses kicked over and over and over in Europe, embarrassingly, year after year. Because if you're used to getting these ridiculous penalties whenever the hell you want, it's going to weaken you as a squad. But anyway, that's sadly where we are. I hope I don't have to talk about refs again for the rest of the season. I certainly hope so. But I just wanted to draw your attention to this stuff, which is really, really upsetting. But anyway, thanks for joining me. Sorry to be the bearer of disgusting news. But, I'll see you guys in the next video. And through thick and thin, a la Madrid.